whatever that experience is, whatever that combination is that you have in your background, bring that to United and be mindful and share us those great stories that you do have, that we all know you have, so we can truly learn who you are as a person.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Hey, pilot, what's up? It's Nick Fialka. It's Ready for Pushback, the second episode of my interview with Justin Ritter, the Senior Manager of Pilot Hiring Programs at United. If you listen to episode 1, you're just ready to rock and you're so excited about episode 2. If you have not yet listened to episode 1, stop this right now. Go back. I'll wait. I'll still be here. Listen to episode 1 because you got to flow into it. Episode 2, we dive deep. We go all over and talk about the interview process. We talk about the types of people, how to be successful, especially if you're flying in the military or you're flying for a regional carrier or you're trying to figure out how best to get to United. We really dive deep in that. Justin shared a lot of really cool information. I think that you're going to get a lot out of it. I'm excited for you to listen.
Hey everyone, Bill Sims here with Spitfire Elite. If you've ever dreamt of joining the United team, this is your golden opportunity. Learn directly from the experts and gain insider knowledge about the path to success. Join us for Charting Your Course at United Airlines, live on Thursday, June 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, for an evening of insightful conversation and invaluable information. During this event, presented by Spitfire Elite, you'll have the chance to meet Justin Ritter, Senior Manager of Pilot Hiring at United Airlines. He's here to share the company's latest hiring news and answer all of your burning questions. So whether you're a student pilot looking to make a career change or a professional pilot who's considering United Airlines, you got to mark this event on your calendar. Thursday, June 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The registration link can be found in the show notes. Sign up now and invite a friend or two. You're not going to want to miss this.
And last but not least, let's have a quick word from our sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't have this awesome podcast. Hey, pilot, it's Nick. I want to tell you about a great friend of the show, Timothy P. Pope. He's a financial planner, and he's completely focused on the professional pilot. He's the kind of guy you want to go to for real talk to help you figure out your financial future. With so many upgrades and so many transitions and so many things going on, you owe it to yourself to give him a call. He'll help you design and execute really smart financial planning strategies, whether it's retirement planning, investment management, military transition, tax planning. He's a great financial planning partner. Timothy P. Pope, CFP, helping professional pilots make the most out of life. Give him a shout. All the information's in the show notes. You should definitely tell him I told you to call. So once we did the Hogan, I got my interview. I came to Denver and it's snowing and it's so cold. And it's just so cold. But I show up. Kind of walk me through the morning. What is it like to go in as an interviewee and go through the process? What could they expect?
Sure. So we have 4 different time slots that an individual could come in at. And we want to make sure that you have an incredible experience the entire time you're here. So when you walk in, you will meet with one of our pilot interviewers who will be in the room with you and who is there to really answer any questions you have about the process and to just be that friendly, non-evaluative face that can be there with you and guide you through our process as you go through that moment. After you've checked in, you've gotten there, you spoke with the pilot, you will then go on a quick tour of our flight training center here in Denver. So you may see a couple sims, you may go to our museum here. Again, just see what the culture is like here at the flight training center. After that, you then go back into the holding area, if you will, and your pilot interviewer and HR interviewer will come and collect you from the holding room and take you to your interview room to then conduct the interview. You do your behavioral-based interview first. You go back to the holding room. We let you take a quick break, grab some water, go to the bathroom, and then we bring you back for your technical portion of the day before we then send you home after that. So we try and make it as stress-free as possible. We want to make it a good experience. We want you to enjoy your time here and really try and get, in what little time you do have here, a true sense of what United Airlines is all about.
When a person's sent home with, at the end of the day, they're probably not going to get a CJO, what would you say kind of are the top buckets of like, well, this or this or this?
Yeah, a couple things. I think first and foremost, being really buttoned up on your stories for the behavioral-based interview is going to be very important. I've been in HR for a very long time, so I don't think it's very challenging. Certainly can see how some people would. But my best recommendation always is just come prepared with some really strong stories, right? Something that will set you apart from another individual. Like I said, we're interviewing over 100 people, sometimes most weeks, every single week. And you need to find a way to make yourself stand out in your stories. We hear many different varieties of the same story, but I know in every candidate we interview, they do have some work experience, some flying experience, and they will be able to answer these questions with a strong story. So coming with those strong stories is very important. Secondly, in the technical, it's very important to listen to what your pilot is sharing with you and to be very mindful of every event that is occurring and use those skills that they use every single day in the flight deck to be able to respond to the questions that the pilot interviewer is asking them as well. If you can do both of those two things, there's a pretty good chance you'll move forward in the process.
Do you hear all of this great, just like sprinkles of knowledge? I love that. And one of the things I tell people when I talk to pilots, I always ask like, hey, why United? Why Delta? Why FedEx? Why whatever? And 80% of the time when it's their first shot at it, I get the most boring, boilerplate, obnoxious answer. And I want to like poke my eye out. And I love what you said there, right? You want a story that is unique to that person, to that individual, that brings out their humanity and who they are. That's what I challenge people. Like, I don't want a why United because I flew them when I was a kid one time, this thing, whatever. Like, but I do want a life experience. I do want, like, I grew up in Denver. I shoveled snow on the ramp and a chief pilot owned a plane at the FBO that I worked at or whatever. Like maybe you've got that, maybe you don't, but whatever it is, understanding who you're speaking with and who you are allow you to create an opportunity to leave your mark, because that's the uniqueness of your organization, is that each person is their individual, and that individual comes together with many other individuals to make that team, which grows the culture, right?
Absolutely. I think what we recognize here is that every one of our pilots is a very unique individual who has a whole life experience that they're bringing with them to United as well. And that's what we expect from our candidates as well. They are a unique individual who has a very varied flying experience with, multiple check ride failures or no check ride failures, with flying all 121 or haven't been in 121 yet, only 135, right? And whatever that experience is, whatever that combination is that you have in your background, bring that to United and be mindful and share us those great stories that you do have, that we all know you have, so we can truly learn who you are as a person. And I think back to all the interviews I've done myself here at United, where I've been interviewed as a candidate. And I think back to those personal moments that were important to me and the instances where I learned something, where I was able to better myself from those opportunities. That was really important in some of the stories that I told in my own interviews. And I think what's also really important too is in your stories, it's okay to share a moment where you were unsuccessful. I think there's a misconception there that if you're asked a question and let's say you had a hard landing or something, right, whatever it is, and that's not a good situation, right? You made a mistake in that moment and you're now sharing a story in an interview about a mistake that you made. Some people have a very hard time getting past that, but our interviewers, that's very meaningful to them, right? You're sharing yourself at a vulnerable moment, and you're also able to share what you've learned from that moment as well. And that has become really important for us. So we love all kinds of stories, both positive and negative, whether you made a mistake or not.
I'd like to recommend to this person that just heard that to not tell about the time they punched somebody in the face. Let's not tell that story.
That might be the best response we've ever heard. No.
I have heard that. I have had people tell me like conflict question story, and one guy like picked the guy up and threw him against the wall. I was like, whoa, all right, let's take a break.
Well, you have to remember, behavioral interviews are about past behavior predicts future performance. And so if you are demonstrating to us that you have done this behavior before, we assume that you're predicting the future for yourself here at United. So maybe not the best story to tell.
That's right. Showing how I made a mistake. Here's what I learned. Here's how I've grown from that. Here's where I am today. And here's how I'm going to make United better because of this experience.
Absolutely.
And being able to articulate that is harder than it sounds and being effective. But I love that you said vulnerability. And anybody that listens to this show that's heard more than one episode hears me say that word because it is so important and it is so overlooked because of the machismo that is involved when like everybody thinks about it with being a pilot. Doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl or whatever, like there's this feeling of like strength and professionalism and all these things, but vulnerability is the key to humanity. And I think that's important.
I agree. I think one of the reasons why that vulnerability does not show up sometimes is because, let's look at it. To become a pilot, particularly for a major airline, there is so much you have to go through to get to this point. And this moment, right, your interview at a major carrier, hopefully at United, it could become the pinnacle of your entire career, right? You have spent sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars if you've gone the civilian route to get your ratings. You have gone through either the regionals, the ULCCs, 135s, and now you're here today. And when you have made it to this moment, you have a sense of pride, right? I've made it to the majors. And it's hard to demonstrate that vulnerability in that moment because you have worked so hard for it. But what I want everyone to know is that just because you're here today doesn't mean that you cannot recognize the struggle that it took to get you to this moment. That's very important for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because overcoming adversity, it doesn't matter where you are, you have had adversity in your life, and realizing that even if you grew up, your family's super duper rich, or you're like me and your family was super duper poor. There's different forms of adversity. And so understanding that and being able to articulate it effectively, I think is super important. I want to know this. Why do you not give a CGAO right at the end of the interview? Why is it a couple of days later that we're doing the board and all that? Like everybody asked me that. I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to ask Justin.
Yeah, great question. So the way we do our interview process here is the flight ops department is the ultimate arbiter and the hiring authority for our pilots. And so here at United, pilots hire pilots. And so what happens is that at the end of every interview, we collect the data from the Hogan, we collect the data from the HR behavioral interview, and we collect the data from the technical interview. We package it up and we give it to the board of review, which is made up of our 3 flight ops managing directors or 3 flight ops leaders who go through every single individual, and based upon our recommendation, the pilot's recommendation, they ultimately make the decision whether we move forward with that person or not. Now, we hold a board of review every Friday, and after that Friday board of review, that's typically when we send out either CJOs or rejection emails either that Friday or the following Monday. Now, obviously that can change every single week, but that's our typical current process.
Yeah, so I did my interview and then all of a sudden I'm presented on a sheet of paper. Am I presented on a scale, like a basic grade score? Is it green, yellow, red? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so each component, the Hogan assessment, the interview, and the technical have a different rating and score to them. And so what the individual does, what the board of review does, is that they review your scores, and then every interview that's completed, we also submit, the HR individual and the pilot submits what we call a write-up, or basically a general summary of this person's interview and experience with us. And the board of review reviews it and either accepts the recommendation or rejects the recommendation.
Interesting. And so I love that you do it on Friday to make everybody stay at work longer.
Yeah.
So smart.
We actually just finished it before this interview. I just finished my board interview for today.
Well, how many people are you giving a thumbs up to today?
Quite a few.
All right. Very good. Are you hitting your numbers? Do you have enough apps in?
We are, yes. And again, I think that's a testament to, again, United's culture. I think our strength as an employer. And really, this is the place to be as a pilot, in my opinion, at this moment. So right now we are doing, I think, an amazing job. We're hiring lots of really exceptionally qualified pilots and continuously, hiring as many as we need.
Yeah. One of the things I find interesting from the outside looking in at every airline is kind of where we are in this moment in time. And by that, the cyclical pilot negotiation cycle, right? So when we are recording this, we have Delta that has a signed new contract. We have American Airlines that has a tentative agreement. I think they're at TA now. It's either agreement in principle or tentative agreement. And United is still at the negotiating table on their second or third pass at this. What do you tell a pilot who's a little nervous, who's going to make this decision for the rest of their life? And there's this unknown of this negotiation that's a lot at stake. So how do you tell the person that it's going to be okay, or give them some confidence that they should go to United?
Sure. Yeah. So in my perspective here at United, we work very hard to have a strong and equitable relationship with all of our unions, ALPA included. And we do not want to ever have a poor relationship with them. And so we are working very hard to get that agreement in place here soon. So we understand that the time that has been taking it has been taking some time for it, but we as a company work very closely with them, and we respect the work that they do. And we want to make sure that we have a good working relationship with them. So while this moment in time may be different than some of our competitors, I know that in the future we will have a very strong relationship continuously with ALPA, and our pilots will continuously have a wonderful career here whenever that comes out in due time.
I love it. Way to thread the needle. That was good. Nicely done. It's so tough. It's hard to talk about, but it is what it is, and it's all cyclical too. So yeah, it comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes, and
totally. I've spoken with many of our pilots here too, and look, people have a lot of thoughts and opinions about it, and I think they want this to be done soon. And I'm certain everyone's working towards that same goal. But even in this moment, every pilot I talk to is still in love with flying at United. They know that and recognize that this is a moment in time, and regardless of that moment in time, they still really enjoy going out there, representing the company, flying some of the best aircraft in the world to really cool destinations. And so I think ultimately people still enjoy coming to work here, even in this moment of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's important. I want to switch gears slightly and talk about the type of pilot that you're looking for, and specifically a couple different ones. Number one, I want to talk about people that have a helicopter background. There are some of the ULCCs and most of the regionals are doing like the rotor transition programs and things like that. Has there been any conversation about that for United and your team?
Good question. So we do not have a rotor transition program in place here at United at this point. We have begun initial discussions about military programs and what we can do for our former military members, whether they're fixed wing or rotor pilots, but nothing has come of that as of this moment. We're hoping for a more solidified plan later this summer, early fall.
Later this summer, early fall. That is going to be interesting. You heard it here first. I'm going to get this thing out to print real quick because that is important. And that's me being the military and the helicopter person and all that. A lot of people in my military circles, they always want to talk about how early is too early to apply. When should I get ready? I feel like I'm never going to have enough hours. What about my helicopter time? It doesn't matter, or this, that, or the other. And so dispelling any kind of rumors and stuff like that out there, I think is key. If you're a non-military aviator and you went to one of your express carriers, right, and you're flying for a regional that flies under the United banner, do you do a flow? Can you get hired outside of that flow? Like those people that are there, some people will choose to go to a competitor's regional because they don't want to take the time that it takes to shuffle through the process. I'm sure you're well aware of that. I'm not telling you anything you didn't know. How does one manage that? I don't want you to say, hey, don't go to my regional, but I also want you to be real with the pilot who wants to be at United as fast as he or she can.
Great question. So there are many pathways to United, as there are with any other airline, right? For us, we very much value individuals who are flying or have flown in the United ecosystem, whether that's with one of our 135 partners or whether it's one of our Aviate partners, UAX3 carriers, GoJet, Commute Air, and Mesa. That is a very valuable experience to us. We do have we don't call it a flow program. We do have our Aviate program, which is a pathway for our UAX pilots to come to United once they have gained that very valuable experience. We also hire pilots from competitor airlines. We hire pilots from ULCC carriers. We hire pilots at 135s, and we hire a lot of military pilots as well. So for us, all experience is very valuable. And whether you choose a path through the UAX carriers or whether you choose a path elsewhere, that's very important. And I think we can all recognize that we are in a very different pilot hiring environment now than we were 5-10 years ago, right? All of the airlines are hiring thousands of pilots, and we're competing for a smaller pool of talent. And so while there may be a conception that one route is faster than the other route, what we always say here, and what I truly believe too, this is not going to be like this forever. Not all airlines are going to be hiring thousands of pilots every single year. And so I'm typically a very risk-averse person. So I would choose a path that is the most secure and the one that is going to guarantee and ensure my possibility of coming to United eventually. And that could be right now our Aviate program right now. And so again, right now, this is a snapshot. This is a window of time. And there may be, people that feel as though going through a competitor could be a faster route. That is not always going to be the case. And, in fact, we just had, during our board of review today, we reviewed all of our flow pilots as well. And we'll be welcoming pilots from our UX carriers to United in the next couple of weeks. So every single week we do that as well.
Yeah, we'll see each other at the convention next year. If we circle back at this time next year, how is the conversation going to have changed? That is going to be so interesting, because the point that you brought up is like nothing's certain. Hire until you furlough. And what's the path that's going to be the most guaranteed? Man, this career, this career, it's so crazy. You don't know until the day you turn 65 whether you did the right thing or not. You just don't. And so I would tell people to have no fear, because if you start scrutinizing every step, you're never going to step anywhere. And Dr. Seuss writes about it even. You just got to go.
Yeah. And that's my recommendation for everyone too, right? Find the best path that works for you. Obviously, I work at United. I believe in the Aviate program. I think it's a very valuable program, both for the company and for its members, but it may not be for everyone. And if that's not your preferred path, that's not the way that you think it's going to be the best way, then certainly follow that dream as well. I want to make sure that whatever people decide, and really whatever their dream airline is, follow the path that works best for you. And to your point as well, will you really even know if it's the correct path until the day that you retire?
That's right. And it's so good. So, hey, just do it, guys. And I think that's an awesome place to stop too, because we've been talking for about an hour. I've taken more of the time than you've allotted me, and I'm really gracious for that. And really, it's not for me. It's for the pilot and for that United employee. You are going to be sitting in Denver very soon, and somebody's going to walk up to you and say, hey, I heard you on the Ready for Pushback podcast, and it gave me such great insight. And I really want that. I want this to be kind of an enduring thing that just is able to help people get better so that they can get their job faster, and just have the confidence to know that you are not a business. You are a human. You're a man in Denver who has emotions and feelings and is real. And that's awesome. And so every other person listening to that is as well. And there's nothing to be scared of, that you can go forward and you can be successful at United, and you can have an awesome career flying in Denver in the snow where it's just too cold.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No. And again, thank you to you and to your entire team. And I do encourage, if any of the pilots that are listening to this do come to United and do come through our interview process, feel free to stop by and say hi and introduce yourself to me. I'd love to get to know you. And as I mentioned before, my goal is to make my team more accessible, to dispel some of those myths and those rumors, and to ensure that if you have a question or if you have anything that you'd like to talk to us about, someone will be here to help answer that for you as well. Dude,
you're awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time on a Friday in the afternoon. And you are awesome. And I really, hats off to the United team. You guys are awesome. And I can't wait to see you at the next convention.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, before I let you go, I need to mention one thing, because a lot of people are asking me, can you do anything? Can you help me with this? And the answer is yes. At Spitfire Elite, we will make more millionaires this year than Major League Baseball will make in the next 5 years. Our company actually does this. It's called Spitfire Elite Interview Consulting. And you can find us over at spitfireelite.com. Our clients, they call us the easy button for interview prep, because everything you need to crush your interview is there in one spot. Whether it's application review or interview prep, all of it is covered. We've helped thousands of clients who are now flying at their dream jobs because our coaches gave them the one-on-one feedback that they needed to succeed on the biggest day of their life. The best part of Spitfire is our community. All Spitfire clients will get access to our private chats where they can work with each other and they can work with our coaches and get the latest information on all the airlines. If you'd like to make sure that you are 100% ready to go on your big day, there is only one choice. Everything you need is in one place, and I think it's pretty affordable. You'll have to take a look for yourself. Just go over to SpitfireElite.com and check us out. Use the coupon code podcast and it'll save you 10%. And by the way, I will see you on the next episode. The statements made on this show are my own opinions and do not reflect, nor are they under any direction from my employer.